Hey, it's Sam Backer here, and I am very excited today because I am in my office in Wellington, New Zealand here, and there's a siren going in the background. But I have with me Eva Maria, who is, she's a social media consultant. She's also a best-selling author, and she's been doing this, now she's 21, but she's actually been doing, promoting herself since the age of 16. She wrote a best-selling book by the age of 17, right? It was an international bestseller called You Shut Up. And then since then, she's actually built that into a speaking business. Now she deals with a number of clients. She's actually got over 100 clients who she currently helps in businesses or with businesses around New Zealand. And she's been doing this for the past year or so. Is that correct? Or
Yep, just over 18 months.
Yeah, cool. So and she's also my girlfriend. So and is your mom on my subscriber list?
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. That's probably a good thing. I don't know where this is going to go or who's going to watch this, but anyway. So I wanted to bring Eva on because we actually did a webinar recently, and I'm going to speak it to the lens opposed from the picture on that. But we did a webinar recently, and what happened is I asked, hey, what would you like to hear about? What would you like to hear about? Would you like to hear from Eva about the strategy she's using, that she's generated over 100 clients, and how she's doing it, and a lot of it via email, and also some of the strategies that she's using in her business to help, supply social media management services to those businesses. So welcome, Eva. It's good to see you again. It's been a while. So let's get right into it. So you obviously you started writing this book at 16, and for many people out there, that's kind of a hard thing to even contemplate at such a young age. So what really motivated you to get into that, and really what is your story? What has brought you here to the stage where we're on camera and you have over 100 clients and you have a business that many in the community here would actually love to have themselves? So how have you been able to do that?
Well, I was a suffering 6-year-old in Russia. I'm just kidding. My family and I came over to New Zealand when I was 6, and from a really, really young age, I was immersed in two different worlds. The New Zealand world and the Russian world, where everything was completely different. And by the time I was 16, I was doing a lot of mentoring at school, and I figured that there were two sides to every story, and I decided to put all those stories about young people and how they like to be treated and what they're thinking into a book to help parents and adults get better relationships with them. And the social media part of it has kind of rolled on from that, because I see my work with young people go into social media, because the way that I've structured my social media business is I try and get generations to work together. So I'm trying to get young people to help the older generations in business by updating and implementing their social media strategy.
That's cool.
So that's like nutshell story.
Very, very quick run through of that. So that's very cool. So how did you get started in social media itself? How did you actually get started helping these businesses? Because obviously, it's happened very quick for you, and you've been able to do this in a very short period of time. But how did that really start? What motivated you to actually get into social media?
I actually started getting asked to speak about social media. I'm a speaker about intergenerational relationships, and at the start of last year, a lot of people were asking me what I thought about social media, because obviously I must have been an expert because I'm young, because social media is the new up-and-coming thing, and I started doing a lot more research about social media and started to speak at more conferences and run more workshops, and from there I realized that a lot of people either don't understand what social media is, or they don't have the time to be able to do it correctly.
Well, let's ask that question then. What is social media, and what does it mean to the audience right here? When you say social media, what kind of services are you providing, and what kind of products are you providing these businesses?
Well, my main concept was around doing the basics right. So the biggest thing is probably development of social media strategy, setting up of different social networks, but our specialization was in the actual implementation, well, still is, in the actual implementation. So we take the strategy that either we've created or someone else has created, and we put it into life. So we will update Facebook pages, or we will tweet out for people, or we will make videos and post them up onto their YouTube channel. So anything to make sure that businesses have as much involvement in social media as they want to. So that would range from a business owner having to go and check up on their social media networks once a week, to never even having to touch it and just taking care of the back end of their
business. That's cool. So you basically take care of everything for them in terms of their Facebook presence or YouTube presence, their Twitter presence, so they can just unplug and know that their business is being taken care of because you and your team are able to do that. Now, you do have a team, right? You don't do this all yourself. For these businesses.
I wish I did everything myself. No, we've got a team at the moment. It's growing, but right now we've got 16 people on board, not including me, and most of them are in New Zealand. But we've got a couple of developers and sort of guys that know all the code overseas. We started servicing New Zealand businesses, which is why most of our young people that are doing the updating are from New Zealand, so that it's not done in Bangladesh time.
Yeah.
And I mean. The team is still growing, and we're always looking for more stuff to do. Yeah,
that's very cool. So how are you actually getting these clients on board? Because one of the biggest things that when you first told me about this, and this was way back, I guess, when we were first had that dinner together when we were talking about, obviously, businesses and all the stuff that was happening there. But one of the things that sort of popped up was that you were able to do this very quickly. And I know that a lot of people here will have been online for about a year, and many of them may have even been in MFB Cash or any of our courses, and they would have got access to it about a year ago. And you've been able to build this business within the space, and I'd be right to say this, right, in about a year's time, that you've actually been able to build this social media presence. And then the question comes up, is how are you generating the leads for this business? Because obviously, with the amount of businesses you've been able to bring on in such a short period of time, you have to be getting the traffic from somewhere. You have to be able to get leads from somewhere. So how are you actually generating these leads? And could you explain how that's actually happening? And I know that one of the things that was really compelling on to people were that you actually do a lot of this via email, and that's obviously attractive for a lot of people. And would you like to explain a bit about that for the audience?
Sure. Well, I mean, basically, a lot of people in business that I know, they used to work in a corporate environment, or they used to run their own business, and they were in a different niche, and then they go into a new business and they take a lot of their clients with them. Mm-hmm. When I was doing my speaking and all the people that have bought my book, it was all around parenting teenagers, or it was all around young people in the workforce, so it actually had no connection to social media. So having said that, all the contacts that I had built up over the years, they had almost no relevance to social media, so I couldn't even use them as clients. So basically, in the last 18 months, I've had to build everything from scratch. And the way that I started doing it was, at first, I was obviously going out to the people that I knew, and I was actually asking them if they knew someone that was in business that was having problems with social media, if they needed any help with social media. And from there, after a couple of months had passed, and then I started going out into the networks, and some of the networks could be not gathering networks like BNI that meet every X amount of weeks or whatever, but actually big networks with people that have lists. And I think there's quite a number of people with big lists in every single city, like from women's business groups to I don't know, I mean, like Chamber of Commerce always have a big list, and just places like that. I was also contacting like speakers associations and coaches federation networks, and it kind of went from there. And because Wellington is such a small place, a lot of it was word of mouth. But what I started to do after that, after the word of mouth started to kind of drizzle off. I don't know what the right word for it is. After I guess I felt like I had already taken advantage of every single person I could have in the city, I started going out into different databases and seeing who are the people that really, really need help with social media networks. And it was really interesting to see, because if, for example, let's say you are living in, where do most of
America, US.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's say you're living
Chicago,
in
maybe New York, Sunnyvale, Idaho.
Right. Let's say you're living in New York, and let's say you are you're looking at accommodation places in New York, right? So you go into Google and you type in New York accommodation places or New York accommodation directory, and you go through every single place. After you might go onto their website, or you might search for them on Facebook, but the problem is that a lot of them will be on Facebook, but you just can't find them because, for example, they won't have their custom URL. Their SEO is really, really bad because they forgot or didn't even know to fill out the info sort of bit about them in the Facebook page. And there's all these little bits and pieces that they didn't do. But as a business, their ego is I guess kind of big, just like with any person, and they think that they have social media presence. So sometimes when I was emailing people and I was saying, hey, I can see that in the nicest way possible, I can't find you on social media networks, especially on Facebook, let our team help you. And I would get replies back saying, well, actually, this is our Facebook page, so don't come and talk to us ever again, sort of thing. And I learned really, really quickly that a lot of people were setting up Facebook pages and they were setting up Twitter accounts, but I was just using the wrong language for them. So I started using I guess my language was a little bit different. My emails were a little bit shorter. I mean, I still get emails from people that ask for business opportunities or something. And I mean, I don't know, I don't read past 2 paragraphs. I mean, if someone is trying to make the first point of contact, if it's a piece of spam, you can see that it's like, 6 or 7 or 8 paragraphs long. It's like the first paragraph, like who they are, the second paragraph, like why I should buy from them, and it has absolutely no customization. And so what I started doing was I would write like a really, really simple, like, 1 or 2 sentence email that would basically say, hey, I saw your website and tried to find you on Facebook and couldn't. I'm wondering if you need some help with social media. So something along those lines, making it as easy as possible. Because the way that I guess the reason why I started doing that was because I was thinking, if I was emailing a friend, how would I do it? When I email a friend, I don't go into, hey Jordan, this is Eva Maria and I'm 21 years old and I'm contacting you because I want to know if you're going to be free on Thursday night at 7 p.m. You don't go into all of those details.
Weird friendly, yeah.
You definitely don't go into those details. And the thing is that the shorter your email is, the more, I think the more likely the response is going to be. And also, I mean, your question doesn't have to be closed. So you don't have to finish off the email with, can we do business together, yes or no, because that puts people into an awkward position.
Just close them right away. Close.
I think
I've got a friend who basically, he'll go into a cafe, he'll go to anywhere, and he'll be looking to close, it doesn't matter who it is, into like a $15,000 program, but that's above it. So what you're basically looking to is what's your goal of that email? That's the question. What is your goal? Is it to make contact with the person the right type of way and book the meeting, or is it to sell them into something? What's the goal?
I think the goal is different for every single person, obviously, and I've seen a lot of people in this industry that have a different end goal. My goal is actually to get them to respond, because from doing email marketing in the past, and I have a list of parents and young people from all over the world. The click-through rate for emails is about, 35%.
In our industry, it's about 15 to 20.
Okay, all right, okay, 15 to 20. But I guess 35 is like the people that actually know me that signed up to this list.
Yeah.
So, I think probably for me the most important thing is to know that people know that I'm alive and know that they've actually replied to something, and from there you can build onto a relationship from there.
So you're what I'm seeing is there's two contrasts here, and there's a few questions that I want to ask just to get a bit more details for obviously the viewer. But let's just talk on email for now, and then I'm going to go back into just to drop it in and make sure that we remember this. I'm going to go into more how you actually. I want to know how you are getting these people to actually in these databases to actually mail for you or do anything like that. How you're making that contact that leads on to obviously emailing these people. But before I get into that, I want to ask you, when you are looking to email out to these businesses, now, are you doing this via a large list? Are you building your own list here, which you use to mail subscribers, or are you emailing individuals and making it really personal for each individual? Because there's been two things that have been said here. You talked about databases just then, and before it was individuals. So. Explain a bit more about that. What's the deal?
What's the difference? I think you need to have a number of different strategies that you sort of use whenever you're doing anything. And I mean, when I started out, I was just going and I was doing research about every single individual business, and I was emailing every single one individually, because obviously when you look at someone's Facebook page, you might have different feedback to a different one. So it's not really worth it writing, seeing as the emails are short, which is the coolest thing about it. You don't need to go into heaps of detail like, oh, I saw that this was wrong on your Facebook page or this was wrong on your Facebook page. You just want them to know that you've noticed something that you might be able to help them with. And for a business, that's really important to know that someone out there can help. I just want to make a really good point there, because in our webinars and a lot of the training that we put out there, we do obviously train and teach people what to look for that's wrong in their page. And you just mentioned something there that I think a lot of people get wrong in the community. When we are showing you guys about how to reach out to these businesses, what the problems are on their page, you don't want to. What you're saying is you don't want to actually bombard them with that on that first email. You want to make sure that it's just to get the content, just to get them responding back to you. And it brings to mind a strategy a friend of mine actually used to use, where he would actually set up he would literally go ahead and he would send an email and he said, hey, I just reviewed your website, right? And then he would send them to a 404 error. He wouldn't actually review their website because he doesn't want to spend the time doing that. So they would go to this error page and then they would say like, there's nothing here, and they'd email back to him and be like, oh, my bad. And then he's qualified them as a hot lead, as someone who's interested. Then he actually does the real review and mails out to them. And I thought that sneaky.
That's an interesting strategy, that one. But again, that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to identify who are the hot leads and looking to pursue those people. Yeah,
I guess like as someone that does social media, when you see something wrong with a Facebook page, you kind of want the business to know about it, because you want to position yourself as an authority, as someone that knows, as an expert. But the reality is, I don't know if this is like New Zealand business or if it's international. With a New Zealand business, it's not because I'm not from here, but New Zealand businesses, they'll go out there and they'll find different experts that do different things in different fields. They'll find out what they would do in their situation, get like proposals or something together. Then they'll hire someone within their company and tell them to do what these guys have told them to. Yeah. So if you're sending out, and this, I'm guessing this is the same all over the world. If you're emailing out and if you say, hey, look, I just noticed that, for example, your Facebook page doesn't have a custom URL and there are a few other details that we could help you with, that person is going to go out there and they will find how to do it for free, and then they'll think, oh, okay, well that was easy, so we don't need this person. So that's I guess that's the only reason that you would want.
You're establishing yourself as the expert, and you want to find the businesses, it sounds like, that actually don't want to know anything about that they're happy for you to just take it away, knowing that you're the expert, opposed from trying to do it themselves. Because the reality is, and you've just identified this, is when they do it themselves, they do it wrong or they don't do it at all, because they think that they're going to do it and they're really committed to doing it, and then it just doesn't happen. So
absolutely,
that's a good point. Now, I want to take it back to just one step, and then we'll move on. But I want to take it back to that step where you are actually reaching out to these businesses. So I know that leads is a big problem for people, and you've got a strategy here that is obviously one that runs a lot on email. And how are you initially finding these now? How do you in your business now find these people, and how do you reach out to those? I guess you could almost call them influencers, because it sounds like you're finding people that have influence, that have databases of people, and you're obviously doing this maybe through your speaking or through the type of stuff you're doing. How are you actually reaching out to these people, and how can people on this call right now who may be in the situation where they're at the start, if you take it back like a year ago, 18 months, when you were right at the start of this business, they're right there. So how would they start this business using this strategy themselves?
Well, first of all, go through all of your business cards or, I don't know, Gmail contacts, whatever you have. Yeah. Every single person that you've built a relationship with to date, I think it was amazing how many people were happy to help me find leads and clients at first when I was starting out with social media. The other thing is, you mentioned databases. I went out there and I actually tried to get in touch with people that had big databases, or people that I knew had big databases. I didn't necessarily know them personally, but I would somehow try to find a mutual friend or someone that might know someone that might know someone. So that's where it went. I think the first thing that you want to do is definitely, build on the relationships that you've already built. If nothing happens, nothing happens. I mean, friends aren't going to hate you for trying. Yeah. You never know until you try. And I think that's definitely the first step.
Excellent. Okay, cool. Well, that's very useful, obviously, leverage your contacts, and that's how much of this business runs. And I know for guys like Mo Goulet, if you've seen him in the course, he's a guy who has built up a business where he's making about $20,000 a month in a very quick period of time because he has reached out to those people, he's got the referrals, and then eventually people just start referring on businesses because you're suddenly the go-to person. They want to show off the fact that they have this amazing social media person or the fact that they have someone who knows Facebook better than anyone else, and they know other businesses, they're in groups with other businesses, and they'll reach out. But again, referrals are such a big part of this business that and obviously that's proven that. So now you've gone through, you've emailed these businesses, you've got them back. Now, what are you actually doing for these businesses, and how much are you charging? Because I know that one of the things that we haven't really covered at all with anyone who's on this right now is social media management. I personally don't have, or I have had limited experience with social media management, but it always felt to me like it was something that took more work to actually get in place, and it's one of the things that is a scarce resource. Not many businesses actually, or not many offline marketing businesses like yours actually do this. So how could someone get started? How much are you charging these businesses, and what are you saying in that meeting that's actually getting businesses on board with what you're doing?
Okay, all right.
Is that a long question? I know, but I was trying to get to the point.
And
the point is that we have a meeting, we have social media management. So what's going on there, and how can people who are on this call actually start doing this themselves? Because I think it's
so how
it's
to
really,
get the sale?
Yeah.
How can people get the sale? Okay, well the first one obviously is pricing, and can I talk about that first?
No. Totally,
okay,
no.
all right. The first one is pricing.
Yeah,
the first one is pricing.
You do it anyway.
And what we actually did, we went out there and we found what other social media businesses were doing and charging for their services. It was really interesting because when the research came back, no one was doing what we were doing, so we had no one to sort of compare ourselves to.
Yeah.
So what I did, I went out and I found a couple of web designers that I knew personally, and I talked to them about their clients because they're probably the closest people to social media. And they had an idea about the different budgets that different industries have, that different clients have, that different companies have, which in turn did get me a couple of leads just because I was talking to them about social media.
Yeah.
But it was more to understand like how much are people prepared to spend on a website and how much are people prepared to spend on any other form of internet marketing, or actually online marketing.
Yeah.
So we found a number of different price points around how much people were ready to pay. Does that kind of answer it? Or?
Yeah. And what prices now are you actually charging? What services do you provide?
So at the moment we are. Can I talk in New Zealand dollars? I don't know.
Yeah, New Zealand dollars are about.
I don't know.
It's 80 cents in US dollars. 80 cents to the New Zealand dollar. So you're looking at, if you minus off 20%, then that's the US dollar amount of a New Zealand dollar. If that makes sense.
I'll talk in New Zealand dollars.
Yeah.
I don't know the US metrics system.
Go for it.
Okay, all right. So in New Zealand dollars, we are, at the moment we are currently charging about $700 to set up a social media strategy. It is not an in-depth 100-page corporate strategy, which is the beauty of it, because people have been so sort of, I don't know, everyone has seen some sort of strategy at some point in their life that like some sort of guy in a suit in an office has written up, and it's actually, the worst thing about it is that you can't apply it anywhere. It doesn't have any like to do things, it doesn't have any steps you can take, and it's in general it's very, very vague, and people know that it's expensive. So whenever I say to a business, we can do a social media strategy for you, I actually have to go that extra step to explain to them exactly what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be pinpointing their target market and giving them actually some, valid suggestions that they can give to someone in-house and actually go out there and do. Because strategy seems to be a sort of like a taboo word because people think that it's going to be something really long and expensive that they can't use. And the other things that we do is obviously we set up Facebook and Twitter pages and YouTube channels and things like that, but our specialization lies in the actual implementation of the social media strategy. So that would be in New Zealand dollars at the moment. We're doing about $600 a month to about $1,500 a month, and per social network. And those are the price points, and we have about 3 different steps No, not steps, like different packages that we can offer. So it depends on how much time you want someone to spend on your social media networks. Obviously, the more time you spend, the more you have to pay, but the bigger the engagement, because people, someone is spending more time out there for your business on social media networks. And yeah, I mean, like, we do other things. We contract people, probably people like you guys, like Facebook apps people, to do extra bits and things for the business. And I mean, I'm always looking for extra people that can provide an extra service for social media, because I think, I mean, a lot of people have sort of used our services to help their business. So it's just about uniting together, uniting businesses together. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, we do little bits and pieces, and we've got consultants on board that go in and they support businesses and they give them suggestions around strategy. But our specialisation is in the actual implementation, and that's our niche. In New Zealand we say niche. And yeah, I mean, I think it's really, really important to pick one thing that you're really good at and just let people know that is what you specialize in. Yeah,
cool. There's one question that comes to mind in that meeting, and how important is it that you can demonstrate a return on the investment for a business, and how do you actually go about doing that in that one meeting? It's a question that got brought up the other day, and it's a very good question.
It's the one that I used to always stumble over, because what we do now is when we go in, we actually have some really, really good case studies around what we're doing. And I don't know, maybe you're the same. When you started out in social media, you don't have any of your own examples to start off with, so you're trying to show people about other people's examples, other things that other people have done. What I did when I first started out, I would be the 21-year-old, the 20/21-year-old that no one would take seriously. And there's probably been a lot of, and Wellington is quite small, and a lot of people have heard of me, or, through like 2 or 3 cousins removed or something, and everyone just, I don't know, I hope some people take me seriously, but I'm just like the 20-year-old that like just goes in and is crazy, but somehow makes sense at the end of the day. So I would go in and I would be really, really energetic, and I would try and sell them into this idea that, like, this is the next new big thing. And although some businesses didn't agree with me, a lot of them were ready to I guess see where it was going, and a couple of them said, okay, well, how about you come back in 3 months and see how you're doing then. But I think the way that I actually went in there and really, really got the sale was when not only showing other people's case studies, but also giving them, actually on the spot, giving them a couple of ideas of what they can be doing right now. So unlike in an email, where don't like pour your heart out with all this knowledge that you have so that you don't have anything else left when you're actually talking to the business, I would go in and I would say, well, actually I did some research and I had a look on your Facebook page, and well, I mean, you say that you don't need any social media services, but realistically, how many leads are you getting from Facebook? And then, just as an example question, and they would look at me, and last year social media was quite new, and they would look at me and they would say, you can get leads from social media? We thought it was a place where you would talk about what muffin you're having for breakfast. And so the conversation would start from there, and it's just about, I think the hardest thing for me was to get around that sort of language. So people really like words like leads, return on investment, ROI. People like the word marketing. So if you try and go into a meeting and just mention as if you already know the answer to it, like, so how much return on investment are you getting from your current offline marketing? And people might stop and think, oh, we spent $20,000 on that billboard last month and it didn't bring any leads. Maybe this person actually knows something that we don't, and maybe social media could be cheaper for us. And a lot of the time you'll find that people are really happy to tell you about how much money they spent on their offline marketing. So in the back of your head, if you know that $20,000 is a budget that they have for a month, then
they're obviously a qualified business.
Well, yeah, they're a qualified business, but actually that's something that you can model some of your fees on. And I hope none of my clients are on here, but we actually do have businesses that we charge different prices, and it's not only because they signed up at different times, but it's also because we provide a different type of service that's a little bit more customized for them. And I mean, even though it does stray from our set services, it still makes sense, because I mean, if a business is willing to put in an X amount of dollars into this, online social media marketing, then why don't you do the best job that you can?
That's cool. That's really cool. Okay, great. Well, we've covered quite a bit there. So is there anything that you would like to leave the audience here, and anyone that that is watching this? Obviously, these are people that, or obviously you guys are in that situation where many of you may not be making any money. Many of you may have some clients, or at least the first couple of clients, or maybe even quite a few clients. Is there anything that you want to leave with the audience that has been really useful in your success, that you can sort of leave them to take away, that is going to be useful for them out there?
I think the biggest thing is be clear in exactly what sort of service you're providing for your clients. And I think we've become really clear that we implement really, really well. And maybe it's because we're really brave, because no other company is doing it, but it's because that's what our team loves to do. They love to be engaging on social media networks for companies. They love to actually build business and see the sales that come through some of the different social media networks for our businesses. And I think that when you go into your social media business, just be really, really clear around what it is you're providing, what value you're providing, and also be clear about the service you're providing, but don't limit yourself to what comes out the other end. So, for example, if you're making Facebook apps, and you go in and you try to target, for example, accommodation places, don't try and offer them one or two apps. People like to have choices, so perhaps maybe do a little bit more research, but come to them with a number of choices that you would be able to present to them, because you never know what sort of things they might have been talking about at their last marketing meeting. And if you only bring to them one option of a service that you can do, you're only limiting the potential for it. So, be clear on exactly what you're offering, but make sure that you can be able to provide it in whatever capacity you can. Yeah,
that's great. Okay, well, thank you for coming on. I know it was very difficult to get you on here. I'm kidding. So where can people find more about you? If people want to find out whether it's teen parenting, obviously you're very well known for that, and also for social media services. So where can people find more about you? Whether it's your website, or how can they join your list? How can they? What do you have out there that they can sort of latch onto if they really want to find out more about this?
Have a look at www.socialemedia.co.nz. So that's our social media website. And for more information about me, to know that I'm actually real and legit, my website is eva-maria.co.nz.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks for coming on. And if you watched this right through, which you obviously have because you're here at the end, then I really encourage you to implement the information. You've heard how Eva's actually applying this strategy herself, and how she's actually finding the right networks, finding the right people, then emailing them out in the right type of way. Okay. She's got a specific goal which she's trying to achieve when she's emailing out, which is obviously to get the right type of response. And then what she's doing in that meeting to actually get these businesses on board, and how she's positioning the pricing of it. If you need to go over it again. There's some great information covered in that, and I know that it's going to help you and your business, and help a lot of others as well. So implement it, go and take action, and I will see you again later.
High five.
High five.
High five.
There you go. Okay, cool.